And that is a thumbnail clip. Hi, everybody. I'm Colin Lamb, aka the Tone Wizard, and welcome to I'm Trying to Get Into Phish. I believe this is episode 7. And in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing Phish's album right up here, the White Tapes. I'm going to be reviewing that. It's my kind of hope to review actually all of the Phish studio albums and kind of go forward with that on a whenever I feel like it kind of basis. Because you know what, when I first started the series, if you're new here, I have a series obviously called I'm Trying to Get Into Phish, and I'm quite a long way in, and I think it's safe to say that I'm pretty much into Phish, but along the way a lot of people have been recommending live versions and individual concerts and individual performances of individual songs from individual concerts, and quite frankly, it's a little bit overwhelming, so I'm like, you know what, I want to get into the albums, because on the topic of this guy right here, that's actually the first thing that I really listened to in terms of studio stuff from Phish, because I just opened up Spotify and I looked for the oldest recording they had on there, and that's where I started. Now, with a little bit of reflection, I'm glad that I did, because it's obvious that they have a lot better stuff going forward, and it's obvious that their main trade is in the live performances. But I think in listening to this, as we'll discuss as I present you my review track by track of the album, it's great to listen to this because it gives you a wonderful context to what Phish came from and what they ended up as, and it shows you the genesis of a lot of the things that Phish would really blow out of the stratosphere later on in their career. So we're going to get into that, but once again, I hope you're doing very well wherever you are, and thank you for coming here. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel, because I'm actually approaching 500 subscribers, and I kind of set a goal at the beginning of the year to get to 500, and I kind of set a goal to get there by July. And if I get there by July, or roughly thereabouts, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a live show, and I'm going to do a giveaway. I don't know what I'm going to give away. It might be worthless crap. I might choose to give away like a gift card to Amazon or something, or I might make it like you get what's in the box. I'm not too sure how I'm going to choose who wins that or whatever, but stay tuned to my channel to find out when that's going on, and I hope to see you there. So as I get into this review, please let me know what you think about the things that I have to say in the comments. If you have contrasting opinions, or if you think I'm an idiot or whatever it is, let me know, because I'm going to review all that stuff. And when I review the next album, which is going to be the 1987 release, The Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, I'm going to kind of discuss any of the interesting comments from this episode. But anyways, here we are once again. I said this was going to be a short video. We're 2.5 minutes in almost, and I'm still ranting. So let's get right into it. Phish, the White Tape review by myself, Colin Lamb, the Tone Wizard. This is the 1986 tape, I guess, that was made by Phish. Now, at the time, I was 2 years old, so I really regret, as a 2-year-old, not getting into this when it was put out. But needless to say, here we are. So we're going to start off with track 1. I'm going to go through it track by track here, and we're going to discuss them. So track number 1 is Alumni Blues, which is kind of a funky blues rocker with some really clean, nice little rhythm parts that are kind of scraggled out, and I like the way that they sound. But I like this track right off the bat, and I can see why they would have put it first in the compilation. And again, going back to 1986, you can already see some of Trey's great solo work that he has going on. And at the end, there's kind of a discordant, I think it's a marimba, if you know what that instrument is. I think it's a marimba. I don't know what purpose it serves, but it does lead into the next track, which is And So to Bed, which my interpretation of And So to Bed is it's a nice little instrumental piece, presumably by Trey, a little phased out guitar number, really washy kind of stuff, and I did enjoy that track. Moving on to track number 3, things kind of get interesting here, because what we have here is a seemingly a cappella version of Yem, which is You Enjoy Myself, which again, in the context of this album or this tape or whatever it was, being a kind of foreshadowing to greater things to come, you get to see little nuggets like You Enjoy Myself presented as this little, I think it's like a 1.5 minute a cappella thing. And some of the, I don't know if at the end of it some of the voices are sped up, or if they're using one of those keyboard voicing things to make all the little voices, but in any event, it was cool, and it was interesting to hear it. And again, I don't think this is something that I'll probably listen to a lot going forward, but really interesting stuff on here. Which brings me to track number 4, which is AC/DC Bag. And I have to say, When I was first getting into Phish, you can go back and watch some of those early episodes. I'll probably put a link to episode 1 at the end of this video. But AC/DC Bag was something that grabbed me right away, and it became a staple of their live show. Of course, it's later featured on The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday, which is going to be the next album that I'm going to be reviewing and discussing. And again, I just want to say that the point of doing this is I do want to discuss this stuff. One of the staples of my channel is talking to you guys and getting pieces of information that I'm not going to be able to get just by gleaning through the internet myself. So let me know what you have to say here. But AC/DC Bag is definitely one of my favorite tracks. And I did a little bit of reading into it about the name. I wasn't quite sure what the reference to the name is, but according to Phish.net, the chorus's chord progression, well, almost, it's actually an F major, not a B major, gives AC/DC Bag its name. So I would assume AC and DC, those would be the chords in the chorus. So yeah, if I'm wrong, let me know about that. But that's kind of cool, and that's a song that I also might consider learning. But I don't know if my bandmates are ever gonna concede to playing that. They're not really into the Phish. I think I may be alone here amongst my friends. In fact, oh yeah, I got a little beer here in the ASMR for you, free of charge. Anyways, a lot of my friends. One thing as I'm getting into Phish here, I am discovering that the band and its fans are often targeted for ridicule, because I've discussed it in another episode with a buddy of mine who came on, Eli. It's punching down for a lot of people. They see Phish fans as dorky and the band is kind of geeky. I am taking some flack off some of my friends, but I'm going to try and make my band perform a Phish song before it comes to an end. So we'll see what happens there. But maybe they'll perform this next track, which is track number 5 off the album, the beautifully and eloquently titled Fuck Your Face. Now, as soon as I saw this in the track listing, I kind of wanted to skip ahead and get to it, but I was like, no, maybe AC/DC Bag sets this one up. And to be honest with you, it doesn't. It might be the rudest Phish song. I don't know if there's any other dirty Phish songs out there. Maybe a couple of tracks from their darker days there when they were indulging in the substances. But let me know in the comments. But this song is obviously kind of crude there. And so this brought me to an interesting point in the album, because I was like, I don't think that's Trey singing. And so I just went and did a little bit of research. And I found out that this song is actually mostly done individual tracks by individual members. And so in Park Pewterboss Phish, the biography, Park writes, both Anastasio and Gordon were pretty proficient with their 4-track machines by 1984, and a good portion of the material that wound up on Phish's first release, the White Tape, stemmed from their individual efforts. Also in that biography, it states, during the mid-1980s, before Phish began recording as a band, Anastasio and Gordon had been recording on their 4 tracks at school and at home, and the fruits of these labors saw casual releases such as Phish, aka the White Tape. It was something they could send out as a calling card to get gigs, and they also sold it at shows and gave it away to friends. Depending on your point of view, this is or isn't Phish's first release. In my opinion, it is, because if you are somebody with my mindset and you're just looking at their releases chronologically on Spotify, which I think we could all agree is the primary source where people are getting music, it's the first thing that you see there. And I don't think The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday is on there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll check up on that, but I don't think it is. Only 3 of its 16 songs, Alumni Blues, AC/DC Bag, and Doggone Dog, have all 4 members playing on it. So there you go. Only AC/DC Bag, Doggone Dog, which is a little later on, have all 4 playing on it. 9 are cut by Anastasio, cut alone or with his Princeton comrades. This lo-fi assemblage doesn't really cohere as an album, and despite its charm as an embryonic glimpse at the band and its repertoire at an early stage, is hard to regard as a finished release. So that pretty much sums up what I had been saying at the beginning of this, is that this is a wonderful thing to listen to in terms of getting context for what would later become the Phish that everybody knows now. So very interesting stuff there. And yeah, Mike Gordon, man, maybe you missed your calling there with some of these dirty lyrics. I'd love to hear if you got any more of that trash kicking around there, Mike. Let me know. So track 6 is The Divided Sky, and of course it's not the finalized version of Divided Sky that you would know from a live context, but it's an instrumental kind of thing and a glimpse of what was to come. Track number 7 kind of piqued my interest a little more. Slave to the Traffic Light, fucking awesome name for a song. And in this track, this track I think is one of the most obviously demo quality tracks on there. There's a lot of tape what would maybe tape hiss or tape deterioration or clipping, mic noise and stuff like that. But there is a melody at the end of it, and maybe one of you guys can help me out. It sounds like, and if you're not familiar with music, and I mean, I'm fucking very limited in terms of my musical dialogue, but there sounds like a harmonic major melody towards the end of it that I swear I've heard incorporated into a big kind of solo climax later on in Phish. I want to say that I heard that same sort of melodic concept, that harmonic major concept, in a big solo off of Chalk Dust Torture later down the road. I could be totally wrong, but it's definitely in there, and it was familiar to me. But anyways, moving along, track number 8, Aftermath. So this is worth listening, in my opinion, to, just because there's a very beautiful melody that appears around 1 minute. And when I was listening to this, I was like, oh, this is a fucking wood bowl carver track right here, because picture this, you're living out in the woods, you've gone off the grid, you've had enough, and you're just out in the forest, you've made your shelter, you figured out the whole fire thing, you got a moose fucking curing in a dugout fucking pit somewhere, that's all good, but now what do you got to do? You got to make a bowl. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna go all clay? You're gonna go all fucking ghost on that shit? You're gonna go through all the time to make one of those little clay spinners? No, you're gonna carve a wooden bowl. And this song here, I think, would be perfect for carving a wooden bowl, or maybe a set of wooden bowls. So you'd have the salad bowl, and then the serving bowl, and then maybe a smaller bowl just to put croutons in, so you can kind of keep them on the side, then take the croutons and put them in there, and you've only got one of each because you are living alone. And maybe if you were doing all that with a backdrop of this lovely little song on repeat forever, you wouldn't have to think about the reasons that drove you into the forest, or why you've chosen that life, or how everybody wronged you, and what led you to this bowl carving existence. Track number 9 is called Ingest, and this appears to be a composition that resulted from leaving a guitar pedal or a series of pedals on a loop and just recording it and maybe leaving the room. Not much really going on here, but it's on the album, so there you go. Track number 10 was kind of interesting. It caught my eye there. It's called NO2, which is not to be confused with NOx, which is nitrous oxide. I believe NO2 is nitrogen dioxide, which I think might be pollution of some kind. And I didn't research this, so if the science there is wrong, let me know, but I think I'm right there. And I've kind of joked around before about the Phish and the Ween crowds and the whole nitrous mafia and the whole nitrous thing. It's a bit of a joke there. I don't know how connected it is to this song, or if it has any genesis in there, or if they were doing nitrous. I don't know. That's all wild speculation. Whenever I hear the song Laughing, Laughing, Fall Apart, it makes me think of balloon huffing for sure. But it's 7 minutes long, and it's a John Fishman track. And my interpretation of it is that it was a strange kind of narration of some, slightly insidious trip to the dental office, maybe, or something. I don't know. Let me know what your interpretation of that track is, or if you have, if you have a deeper knowledge of it, please, by all means, let me know. Track number 11 is Fluff's Travels, and man, old Fluff would come to travel so far. A buddy of mine on here, he has the channel on YouTube called Learn to Ween. He sent me a video which I should actually share, and it's a performance of Fluffhead, I think it is, and it's a huge long, and it might have parts of the other kind of Fluff adventures on there, but that is definitely one of my favorite tracks, and actually on the album where Fluffhead actually occurs down the road. I'm going to look at that album, but I love that track. I love the studio recording of that, and I love the track in general. So yeah, that one's on there, and it's again a little bit of foreshadowing about some themes and concepts and musical ideas that we were going to see later. So track number 12, Doggone Dog. So I was kind of looking into this track a little bit, but I was on the Phish.net website, and I kept clicking on the track, and it would send me to another track that there was no information for. I think there's some JavaScript or coding errors going on there on the Phish.net channel. But by the way, Phish.net is an absolutely great place to find information about all this stuff if you're like me and you're getting into it, and if you're clearly as absorbed by this kind of stuff and the lore around the songs as I am. Check out Phish.net, and I guarantee most of you already know about it anyway, so we don't need to talk about it. But Doggone Dog is called Dog Log on Phish.net, and I kind of saw that as I was listening to the track, and I was like, yeah, this just sounds like a guy trying not to step in his dog shit. So let me know what you think about that. Is that what the song is about? Because it sounds like that's what it's about to me. My band has a song called Tubular Log about a shit that a homeless person left on the front door of my lobby. And you know what? It's one of our best songs. So, hey, man, I hope that, I think Phish might still be playing this. I don't know. But hey, I'm down. I'm not above the turd fucking humor. So I did enjoy that track. The next, and also it seems like they're just trying to find all the words that rhyme with log in that track, which brings us to the next track, which is He Ent to the Bog. Interestingly enough, I also have a song called Bog Man that I enjoy that no one else enjoys, and it may sit inside the same world as this song, which seems to be a bunch of samples and kind of different noises arranged together. And I think there's even what I thought was the James Bond theme song at the end of this. I don't know if Phish is paying for that. I mean, I get these copyright claims on these videos where I just try and review stuff. I don't know, Phish. Look out for that. Look out for those YouTube fucking police coming around. Okay. Track number 14 was one of the ones that I actually enjoyed the most here. It's called Run Like an Antelope. And I also do a show on this channel called Getting Into Frank Zappa. You can check that out if you go to my channel. But when I was listening to this, I got some pretty big Zappa vibes, particularly in the guitar solo section around 3 minutes. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's a little rough around the edges. There's some tape noise. There's some mixing issues and all that, but this wasn't a professionally recorded thing as far as I know. And the feeling of it is still great. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, and at the end of it, there is a laugh track that kind of cuts, or an applause track sort of thing that cuts in pretty hard. It's like a bit of a bad cut, and the cutout's not much better, which I thought was interesting. It's just kind of quirky, and it kind of reminded me. I used to do some comedy stuff, and I recorded some live stuff, and I was kind of cutting it up on my computer, and I had a big laugh at the end of one of the performances, and I copied the laugh. I doubled it and put it in about a half a second in front of the other laugh, and it made the laugh sound bigger. So you know what? I see what you did there, Phish. Anyways, same but not the same. Let's move along here. Track number 15 was one probably not my favorite part of listening to this. It's called Micken, and Phish.net says that the original intent of Minkin, I wrote it wrong there, it's not Micken, it's Minkin. Production value suffering. But I tell you what, I got this German-made RME audio interface here, and that's fucking quality. So you know what? I may not be putting the prep that I should into these videos, but I can assure you that the technological value of what you're listening to is absolutely fucking top notch. Anyways, moving on. The original intent of Minkin was a brief commercial / jingle made by Mike to let the world know that artist Marjorie Minkin had arrived. Minkin is Cactus blah blah blah. I don't know anything about the Cactus Mother. I kind of fast forwarded through this one because I didn't find it enjoyable. And yeah, I moved on to track 16, which is Letter to Jimmy Page, and this is just kind of a big guitar rocker, and maybe an ode to either an appreciation or a sarcastic indictment of Jimmy Page. I don't know. Maybe you know. I don't know how Trey feels about Jimmy Page, but pardon me. If he's anything like the rest of us, I'm sure he has a lot of adoration for the man who brought the rock guitar to places it maybe shouldn't have gone. And letter to Jimmy Page, what would my letter to Jimmy Page be? Well, I would address a letter to the late 70s to early Jimmy Page that simply said, hey, stop doing drugs and eat more. Take care of yourself because you look like a goddamn skeleton up there. I was just watching the other day, I was watching Page, Clapton, and Jeff Beck live. I don't know where, it was like, it must have been around the late 70s, early 80s, and I think Clapton had just gotten his act together, but Jimmy Page looks like a fucking mess. Like, he looks like a bag of bones in those big suits he was wearing. So this is probably the early 80s or something, but man, you know what? His soloing, it wasn't bad or sloppy, but it was just a little bit too, here, I'm getting excited just talking about it, but it was just a little too frenzied and exciting and on the edge. But maybe in contrast to Clapton being pretty straight-laced at the time and Beck just being a fucking technical pro, maybe that's what those recordings need. But I did enjoy them. They did a version of Layla too, which is particularly good. But anyways, we're not here to talk about those guys. We're here to talk about Phish. So that's my track-by-track review of the White Tape, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts now. So my overarching thoughts are that it's not great stuff to listen to, but in the context of appreciating Phish for where they came from, what they would become and maybe where they're going now, it's absolutely fantastic, because you can see that even without the access to studio resources that they have now, and without the fan base and the money that they have now, they were still producing stuff that was exciting, and they weren't afraid to try any fucking thing. And I think that is so important in bands that I appreciate, bands that aren't afraid to go to places that maybe they shouldn't even go, that maybe they have no business going. I love to see that, and I think that that's something that's missing a lot these days, because a lot of bands are under a lot of pressure to get you the best, most refined thing that they can, or your attention span is gone like that. Like Spotify attention span for a band is probably 10 seconds. So to be able to see the genesis of what would eventually become Phish is very interesting to me. I really enjoyed looking at this album, and I cannot wait to move on and have a better look, a more in-depth look at the man who stepped into Yesterday. The highlights for me off this album would probably be AC/DC Bag and Run Like an Antelope, because I think those are the most cohesively formed ideas. And I'm going to give this a rating, and I'm going to give it 6 severed hands out of 10 severed hands. That's a reference. If you know, you know. Will I listen to it again? Probably not. I think I got what I needed out of this thing, and I might go back to individual tracks later on. Maybe if I just want to listen to 10 AC/DC Bags in a row, I can do them chronologically and start with this one. But who knows? Anyways, please let me know what you think about anything I've had to say, and let me know what you have to say in the comments. You know what? I kept this video to about 20 minutes. I'm dragging on now, but hey, thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please like the video and subscribe. Please check out some of my other stuff, and I am inching towards 500 subscribers, which is a big deal to me. So if you're new here, please subscribe once again, and I'll let you know what's going on in future videos about maybe doing a giveaway or something like that. I'm probably going to do an episode of Ween Talk next, and then another little video that I've been cooking up, and then I'll probably do some Zappa stuff and Phish stuff and blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much for watching. Take very good care of yourselves. I'm going to finish drinking this tasty beer, and then I got to go pick up my wife from the spa. I'm still sore from hockey, but hey, thanks for stopping by.